Thank you so much for coming out this morning. I'm going to call us to order right now. So I hope everyone is getting a fresh breeze this morning. As we begin, we are going to call to the mic this morning David Northern, President and CEO of HUD.
I know, right? Hey.
Listen, don't take my job. I just got here.
I get that was an icebreaker. It's okay. So I'm the president and CEO of the Birmingham Housing Authority District. Thank you for everybody that's coming out today to visit with Secretary of Hud. The House Authority of Birmingham, we have some amazing missions. In this infrastructure bill, this visit, and our mayor here, and our congresswoman, together we will all make that possible. We serve over 23,000 citizens in the city of Birmingham. But we're not only a leader here in Birmingham, but we lead throughout Alabama as the largest housing authority in the state of Alabama. We have some amazing challenges, but our challenges are really opportunities. Not only will we be repositioning our complete inventory, we see close to $800 to $100 million of development going on, which will massively affect our economy. With the guidance of our board members, our elected officials, the clients, the residents that we have, we'll have much brighter days into the future. Because not only will we focus and look at the bricks and mortar, but the millions of partnerships, just like the one we just had with the NFL with flag football. So our young people have opportunities and access, and that's what we need. Also the other partners in the community, our various stakeholders, UAB, the Jefferson County Health Department came together to help ensure that not just our clients, our staff, and their families was vaccinated. I was vaccinated, and we encourage everybody to get vaccinated. You see what's happening in our state right now. But one thing is for certain, is that if we work together and continue to have these partnerships and appreciate the hard work of our elected officials, like Secretary Fudge, we will have a better day. As President and CEO of the Housing Authority, I'm charged with a tall task. But I'm ready for that task. The reason I'm ready is because we have so many partners, like some of you guys that's here today, and others. I'm fortunate that I'm also not just the president of the Housing Authority here, but I'm the president of the Public Housing Authorities Directors Association in DC. We oversee 2,000 housing authorities. We have people in Washington that's helping. So those resources, those policy specialists, that's on the front lines with Secretary of Hud staff, is a phone call away. So that when we have needs here in Birmingham, for the clients and the residents that we serve, we'll have the support and the systems necessary to make that possible. So again, I want to say thank you to everybody that's here today. I want to say thank you to Secretary Fudge, her team, and all the hard work that they have put in and they will put in to ensure that not just Birmingham, but housing authorities across this nation will be winners. One thing before I leave the mic, I want to say affordable housing matters. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Northern. At this point in time, we will bring Mayor Randall Woodfin.
Hey, good morning, everybody. I want to start by thanking whoever provided this tent and this fan, because we have a very, very special, important person in town today, and that's Madam Secretary, who we have to protect in this August heat. So thank you for that. I also got to mind my manners. Apparently there are a lot of deltas here, so I am going to totally deviate from all the serious stuff to say, Madam Secretary, if you don't get a picture with these ladies before you go, when you leave town, they're going to beat me up.
Done deal.
Done deal. There it is, ladies. You heard it. See, look, I started something. But in all seriousness, there are a few thank yous I have to provide, so be patient with me. The first is to our council members, council representatives that are present, which include not only Councilor Stephen Hoyt, but the representative of the site we are sitting in right now, and that is representative of Council District 6, Crystal Smitherman. I'm appreciative of your friendship and your leadership as far as you knowing the history of this site and how far it's come, having your own friends live here, so thank you, Mayor, for everything. The other thank yous are to State Representative Mary Moore, who is present, as well as one of the advanced state representatives that's present as well. And then the Housing Authority, not only David Northern for his vision and his leadership and his passion, not just for place, but for people, the 20,000 plus residents that he serves, who are our city residents, but also his board, that's where his board members. Thank you both for being present today. Dr. Hood, who is the chairman of the board, and all of the board members, thank you for your leadership. And then two more thank yous. One being to Congresswoman Terry Sewell for her continued advocacy in DC on all of our behalf, as well as Secretary for taking the time out of your very busy schedule to be with us today. There are a couple notes that I want to give before I take my seat. I often remind people that I grew up in a household that were never less than 8 people. But part of that story is my mom is one of 8 children and my dad is one of 6 children. And as a child growing up, I had family members that lived in all forms of public housing sites across the city of Birmingham. From Southtown to Gate City to Vice Hill to the old Central City to the old Brickyard and many other places that also included the old Loving Village. And my auntie Paulette literally lived on a site that is no longer there anymore, a few buildings behind here that way. And growing up, sometimes on weekends I spent time with my first cousins playing out here. And what I can tell you is that we always had to come inside at a certain time because there were certain elements that existed in the old Loving Village that didn't work for families, that didn't work for children. And I am happy to see the city of Birmingham be in an actual position to not only partner with the Housing Authority of Birmingham under the leadership of David Northern, but also to partner with HUD to provide not only more resources to Birmingham, but to deconcentrate these large mega sites that are legacy in nature, but may not necessarily be beneficial to our families. And so thank you so much, Madam Secretary, for everything you're doing on behalf of families. Which brings me to my next to last point. Secretary Fudge is not an ordinary Secretary of HUD. Okay? She has a background of not only being a lawyer, but a former mayor. And to have a former mayor in the position of HUD Secretary tells me President Biden not only got it right, but this is a personal mission to change affordable housing in America. When you have somebody like Secretary Fudge as Secretary of HUD, it sends a signal to families, it sends a signal to those who are leading housing authorities across the nation that we have a friend at HUD, a person that's not only passionate and concerned about more affordable housing opportunities, but also about making sure the work gets done. This is not some just checking the box. We have the right person as HUD Secretary, and we are grateful to Secretary Fudge. My last note is very simple. President Biden's Build Back Better agenda is helping to build or restore more than 2 million affordable and sustainable homes. It will drive down costs of housing by dramatically expanding our supply of affordable housing. On top of lowering costs, these historic housing investments are especially targeting communities of color, helping to create energy, efficient and sustainable infrastructure in historically undeserved areas. For far too long, the city of Birmingham has had its share of undeserved mega sites. That's no longer under the leadership of David Northern and Secretary Fudge as we continue to partner. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Mayor Woodfin. I'm going to attempt to place the mic back here on the podium. And we are going to now hear from Congresswoman Terry Sewell. Congresswoman.
Good morning, Birmingham.
What a glorious day to welcome the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, my dear friend and former colleague, Marcia Fudge, the 18th Secretary of HUD, to our wonderful city. I am proud to host my friend and colleague in today's tour and visit throughout Birmingham so that she can see how far we've come. As Secretary, she just toured the villas right here in Titusville, and we are very proud of this new development. But as Mayor Woodfin said, and we all know, there's still much work to be done right here in Birmingham, and we can use more federal resources to do that work. As the only member of Alabama's congressional delegation to vote in favor of the American Rescue Plan, here's what I know for a fact. I know that the people that I represent need as much assistance as possible to thrive on the other end of this pandemic. I've heard them, Mayor Woodfin's heard them, and the Biden administration has heard them. And that is why I am happy to stand here with Secretary Fudge and say that more help is on the way. As we recover, that means more money. As we recover from the COVID-19 pandemic, President Biden, his cabinet, and the congressional Democrats have laid out a bold vision for our nation, one that will help us not just return to the way things were, but to instead build back better, stronger, and more equitably than before. As President Biden said himself, the best way to grow our economy is from the bottom up and the middle out. And that's exactly what we're doing with the American Rescue Plan resources. The city of Birmingham, Alabama received $140 million from the American Rescue Plan. And I know that the mayor and the city council are hard at work making sure that those resources are there for the citizens of Birmingham to build back better. It will make our life much better, and more affordable housing is one of the tenets of the American Rescue Plan. So what does the American Rescue Plan mean for Alabama's 7th Congressional District? Here in the 7th District, we are tough. I've often said that what we lack in economic resources, we more than make up in a resilient spirit, in hard work ethic, and in making sure that we work together for our community. We know that we've had systemic disinvestments that have prevented too many of our people from reaching their full potential. We know that the issues like pollution and lack of affordable, quality housing has really set us back. But we also know what's possible. We see it right on this site. We will see it later, Southtown, and the redevelopment that will go on with that as well. But we have a historic opportunity with the American Rescue Plan and with this administration to build back better than before. And we must seize this opportunity. I'm so proud to join with Secretary Fudge, President Biden, and congressional Democrats as we finally address these long-standing disparities that exist. The pandemic has only laid bare those disparities. Those disparities exist not only in housing and healthcare, but in environmental injustice. And we know that with more resources, we can not only build back better housing, but we can build back more efficient and green housing. And in doing so, save our planet and be more efficient and provide very good, high-paying jobs for our community. The Build Back Better agenda would build or preserve more than 2 million affordable and sustainable homes and would drive down the cost of housing by dramatically expanding our supply of affordable housing. I also want to say that we're not just doing the talk, we're doing the walk. If you all turned on your televisions this morning, you realize that Senate Democrats did pass a $3.5 trillion blueprint that will usher in not only the American Rescue Plan, but Biden's American Jobs Plan, and yes, America's Family Plan as well. So we look forward to rolling up our sleeves and not just talking the talk, but doing the walk. I'm also excited about the infrastructure package that passed through the Senate last night. It will include historic investments in Alabama. It will include $5.2 billion in fixing Alabama's highways, $225 million to repair and replace our failing bridges, and it will invest at least $100 million for broadband. If there's anything that we've realized during this pandemic is that the systemic disinvestment in infrastructure has been a huge disadvantage for communities of color and for low-income families. No more. Help is on the way, help is here, and more help is also on the way. I'm excited also that the infrastructure package, we were able to put the largest investment in clean drinking water and wastewater resources in America's history. So I'm excited to roll those out and look forward to coming back and telling my constituents, not only did we do it, but we did it well. And that Alabama, Birmingham, will not only thrive through this pandemic, but also come back and build back better. Now I get the honor of introducing my dear friend and former colleague. As was said, Marcia Fudge brings a unique perspective to being the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development. She was the first female and first African-American mayor of Warrensville Heights, Ohio. She understands very much not only the importance of being a local government and the needs for local government, but she understands and fights for and did fight for over a decade as a congresswoman for the 11th District of Ohio. It was an honor to serve with Marcia when she was the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus. Throughout her career, Secretary Fudge has been a fierce advocate for low-income families, seniors, and communities across this country. During this challenging time in our nation's history, there is no one better suited to lead the Department of Housing and Urban Development than Secretary Fudge. As we have seen today in Titusville community, the work of this agency makes a tremendous difference in the lives of so many families. But Secretary Fudge is not new to this work. Her foray into electoral politics began in 1999 when she was elected the mayor of Warrensville Heights, Ohio. And among her many accomplishments as mayor, Secretary Fudge adopted one of the first vacant and abandoned property ordinances in the state of Ohio that helped to combat predatory lending. She has also helped to address the city's growing foreclosure crisis and prioritize improving the city's tax base and expanding opportunities for affordable housing. I am very excited, with no further ado, to introduce the 18th the 18th Secretary of Housing and Urban. I was going to give you a promotion to being president. The 18th Secretary of HUD, none other than the distinguished Marcia Fudge.
Good morning. Oh, y'all got it. Y'all got it. Let me first since I don't know everybody here, I'm just going to talk about the people I know. Is that all right? So there are two people here that I just have to give a real special recognition. I don't do a lot of traveling because of all the things that are happening, but when I was asked to come and be with Mayor Woodfin and with my good friend Terry Sewell, I could not say no. Because what I know is this: your mayor is doing a great work, and I have worked with Terry for many years, and I mean, sometimes Terry would drive you crazy talking about Alabama, Alabama, Alabama. And so rest assured that your leadership is just who you ought to have doing the work for you that they are doing, because they are doing a great work. As I drove in here today, I was so full of pride because I know what it's like to be poor. And when I drove in, I said, this is a place that gives people dignity. This is a place that gives people hope. I said when I took this job that the only reason I would do it is because I wanted for people who live on the outskirts of hope to have a better life. And that is my job. That is my role here today, is to be a part of the things that you are building here. Now, I have been a fan of both Terry and the mayors for a very long time. I've only known the mayor for about 3 years, but I think he's such a bright and articulate and smart person because he cares. And I like to be around people who care. Anybody that knows me knows that I am not the person that most people in Washington want to be around, because I will say anything. Just anything. And I always tell the truth as best that I know it. And the truth of today is we are in a community now that understands how important a home is. You know, when the pandemic started, the first thing they told us to do was stay home. What if you didn't have a home? Then they said, don't send your children to school, let's teach them from home. What happened if you had to drive to the McDonald's and sit in the parking lot or sit in the parking lot of your local library because you didn't have broadband at your house? They said if you're sick, stay home. What happens if you didn't have health care and you're stuck in a house or lack of one? On any night in America, more than 500,000 people are unsheltered in the greatest nation in the world. And I intend to change it. On any given day in America, more than 11 million people pay more than 50% of their income on rent, just on rent. Can you imagine? 50% of your income on rent. Then you wonder, how do I pay for my kids' clothing? How do I put food on my table? And there is no place in America today where you can rent a 2-bedroom apartment on minimum wage. Nowhere in this country. And we intend to change it. The president has given me broad latitude to do the things we need to do, even down to saying, you know what, Marcia, look at what we are doing in housing through a lens of equity. We know that systemic racism has done a great damage to this country and to cities like Birmingham. I remember when I was a kid, most of you don't know I have family in Birmingham. So when I was a kid, you know, my parents and grandparents and great-grandparents moved to Cleveland, but we still always had this Birmingham connection. So we had this big old house, and at points there must have been 20 people living in it. But anybody that came from the South would come and live with us until they found some place to go. So I really lived in public housing. I just want you to know it. But it is what taught me that you care about people who need help. And that is why I'm here today, because this community is doing so extremely well. We just on yesterday sent to the House of Representatives the largest infrastructure package in the history of this country. The largest. Which includes, as Terry said, clean drinking water. Our children should not be poisoned by drinking lead-based water in school. It gave more money to broadband than anyone could even imagine. Our children should not have to go and sit in a parking lot to be able to do their homework. It is a bill that is going to fix roads and bridges that are long overdue. And in the next package, we're going to make sure that we do build 2 million new homes, reduce the cost of housing for this country. I'm not going to go into a lot and try to belabor this point, but I will say this. We know that right now we need about 4 million homes in this country to take everybody off the street. This new package, the Build Back Better plan, is going to at least cut that number in half, and we're going to put them in places that make sense. We're getting ready to start to buy, well, cities are, old hotels and motels to get the homeless off the street right away. We're going to build new communities for people who are just trying to make it. We're going to do a lot more to make sure that people of color and low-income people and moderate people can buy a home. We know that as people of color, that is the first place by which we build generational wealth, is to buy a home. But we've made it so hard because we make it more difficult to get credit just because of what we look like. We do appraisals in a way that is unfair. I mean, your value of your home should not be determined by the color of the person that lives in it. We're getting ready to change it. We're doing a lot of things that I think are going to be helpful. We're dealing with student debt. Student debt has always been a barrier for people of color. I came out of school with a lot of student debt, but who has student debt? Black people, brown people, poor people. So the system has really been weighted against us, but it is my job to make sure that we change it. And I'm going to leave you with this. When I came to HUD, I didn't know what to expect. I came into an agency that was down about 1,000 employees. Morale was down, but the people that were there were great people, and they did good work. They just needed some direction and some lift. And so as I started to think about what we could do and the things that our staff could do, Terry, I would ask somebody, I'd wake up in the middle of the night and say, I wonder if I can use a voucher as a down payment. And so I went to the office that day and they said, you can do that. So then I asked them about doing away with the student loan debt. They said, you can do that. I said, well, I'm the most dangerous person in America right now because I'm going to do all kind of stuff. So in closing, I would say that it really is a new day in HUD. And I love to tell this story because I feel so very strongly about the work I do. Because if you don't care about people, I don't want you around me. So I would say this. You know the story of Nehemiah. Nehemiah was building the walls of Jerusalem. And as he would get higher and higher, the Babylonians kept trying to stop him. And they kept saying, come down, Nehemiah. And Nehemiah would say to them, he just ignore him. I can't come down. He just ignore him. So finally, he got so sick of him. He said, I am doing a great work, and I will not come down. And we are doing a great work, and we will not come down. Thanks, everybody.